New analysis by two IRS researchers found that the top 1% in the United States hide about 1/5 of their wealth in order to evade paying taxes. So not only do they have lawmakers passing legislation to cut their taxes, they also evade taxes by not reporting the entirety of their income, something that poor people would actually suffer severe consequences for if they decided to engage in that type of fraudulent activity. Now, the richest 1% of US households don't report around 21% of their income, often using complex tax avoidance strategies that allow them to outmaneuver the federal government's increasingly rare audits of the wealthy. And honestly, they don't have to try too hard to outmaneuver the IRS because the IRS is so ill-funded that it's unable to do audits do audits of the wealthy, right? And understand that it costs more money. You use up more resources to do those audits because their taxes are more complicated. And when it comes to poor people, well, that's where their attention is focused. And so we have this situation in which like the biggest tax evaders get away with it, and people who maybe forgot to report something, that happens, have to deal with these unbelievably difficult audits that can drag on for a long, long time. Now, here's how much their collective taxes would amount to if they were actually paying them. The researchers over at Tax Evasion at the Top of the Income Distribution say this: we estimate that 36% of federal income taxes unpaid are owed by the top 1%, and that collecting all unpaid federal income tax from this group would increase federal revenues by about $175 billion annually. 6% of the richest households' unreported income corresponded to undetected, sophisticated evasion, such as offshoring, pass-through businesses, and other avoidance tactics. I'm shocked by this, Woz. I would think that these hardworking job creators would not commit any type of tax evasion. They love this country. They're true patriots. I mean, they built this country, didn't they?
No, and they didn't. And part of how you stay rich in this country is tax avoidance, and just an investment in your ability to avoid them. A lot of these loopholes, they excuse me, they were achieved by certain business interests lobbying our government precisely for this reason. They lobbied the government for tax loopholes. And as you said, as it pertains to the prosecuting or the auditing, as we call it, of poor individuals, obviously that's what they're gonna do, because rich people have told lawmakers, tell the IRS to go look under their couch cushions for that money. Don't come to the bank. Don't come to us. Don't come to the people with all of it. Like literally, go bother those poor people for that extra 1,500, for that extra 600, even though I've got an extra 30, 40 million in certain cases overseas in these secret bank accounts. It's quite disgusting, honestly, when you think about it, because often when we're talking in America about quote unquote free rides and quote unquote everybody paying their fair share and lifting the bootstraps and doing all of this stuff, these are the people who are getting off scot-free. This is actually a welfare program for the rich in order for them to do what, Anna? Get more yachts? Get more private planes? Like what about these people's lives will be, measurably improved by having done all of this tax avoidance? And meanwhile, every time we want to do something worthwhile for the American people, all we ever hear is how are we going to pay for it? Where are we going to find the funds, et cetera, et cetera. It's quite awful.
It is awful. But just pointing out the B-roll that we provided our audience, at least we got equality, right? Like at least we got the women executives in there too. Like look at her. I mean, she might be avoiding her taxes, but she's a woman. Girl boss,
representation.
it's okay.
Representation.
And then that guy, no, we're against that guy because he's just part of the continuous white male paradigm in this country. But she's okay. She's okay. No, obviously
tax avoidance only kills Americans when white men do it, Anna. We know that. You're woke enough to understand that, don't you? There are no black, lesbian, female capitalists in America. Don't you know that, Anna?
Right. I mean, that would be the narrative that the press would love for you to believe, but obviously we're not buying that. But I've been audited once, and it was literally like my lowest earning year in my career. It was my first year at TYT, and I got audited because I started as an hourly worker at TYT because I wasn't full time, and then when I switched over to full time, they put me on payroll, right? So I was collecting a salary, not a very big salary, but you get the point. So that year when I filed my taxes, I had to provide 2 different documents, and I'm not gonna name any names, but someone at TYT forgot to give me one of those documents, and I'm a child. Like it was the first year that I filed taxes for myself. My dad had been doing it up until then, and I got a little Armenian princess in me. Okay, don't hate. But I remember getting that letter from the IRS, and it was terrifying. And I was like, I didn't do it on purpose, and it was just such a scary process. But looking back at it now, I'm like, really, you guys are gonna come after me during a year when I made a couple dozen bucks? Like really? Like it's just, but that's what they do because those are simple tax audits. And by the way, one other thing I gotta quickly mention, I do find it fascinating that as Trump was facing a pretty serious tax audit, he comes into the office and immediately starts cutting resources for the IRS, like of course. But that's what's going on with the wealthy, and it is what it is. We gotta fight against that.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.